Today we're going to look at Practice Test 6, the Math Calculator section, only Heart of Algebra questions, and there are 11 of them. Number 4. A website hosting service charges businesses a one-time setup fee of $350 plus D dollars for each month. If a business owner paid $1,010 for the first 12 months, including the setup fee, what is the value of D? So each of these numbers works together to create this equation. The total amount paid is $1,010. That goes over here. The D dollars for each month is multiplied by how many months, so that's why we have 12D. And $350 is a one-time fee, that's why we add it. I subtract $350 from both sides. This gives me $660 is equal to 12D. I divide both sides by 12, and I get that D is equal to 55. That's why it's D, of course. Number 10. Between 1497 and 1500, Amerigo Vespucci embarked on 2 voyages to the New World. According to Vespucci's letters, the first voyage lasted 43 days longer than the second voyage, and the 2 voyages combined lasted a total of 1,003 days. How many days did the second voyage last? So we're going to build a couple of equations, such as this first one. The first voyage lasted 43 days longer than the second voyage, so x will represent the first voyage and y the second voyage, so we add 43 to y and we get x. The 2 voyages combined, or in other words, x plus y, is equal to 1,003. This is a simple substitution I can make. I can replace x with what it's equal to. So I'm left with y plus 43 plus y is equal to 1,003. I combine like terms. I'm going to subtract 43 from both sides. 2y is equal to 960, so when I divide both sides by 2, y is equal to 480. So y represented the second voyage. That's our answer, B. Number 11. For the solution xy to the system of equations above, what is the value of x minus y? So I notice that my coefficients for y are identical, and one is positive, one is negative, so I can add all 3 columns straight down to cancel out my y terms. This gives me a 13x is equal to 13. Well, I know then that x is equal to 1. If I divide both sides by 13, that's what I get. So I can plug this 1 back into one of my original equations, such as this top one, 7 times 1 plus 3y is equal to 8. 7 times 1 is 7. When I subtract that from both sides, this becomes 3y is equal to 1. When I divide both sides by 3, I get y is equal to 1/3. Now my original question asks, what is x minus y? So what is 1 minus 1/3? Let's change 1 to 3 over 3, and now I can subtract straight across the top, and 2/3 is my answer, B. Number 13, we're looking at sunflower growth and then sunflower height over time. The function h, defined by h of t is equal to at plus b, where a and b are constants, models the height in centimeters of the sunflower after t days of growth during a time period in which the growth is approximately linear. What does a represent? Well, they tell us that a is a constant, so this is very similar to y equals mx plus b, and a is in the m slot, so it represents the slope. So which one of these answer choices looks like slope? We see here how much it grows each day. It has that keyword each. And this one is height at the beginning. That's no good. Height at the end, also not useful. The predicted total increase, well, we want the increase per day, so A was correct. Same scenario, number 14. The growth rate of the sunflower from day 14 to day 35 is nearly constant. So we're talking from here to here. On this interval, which of the following equations best models the height h in centimeters of the sunflower t days after it begins to grow? Well, it can be difficult to identify specific points from the graph, but fortunately there's a table. So we can pretty much choose any 2 points within this red box and create our equation. So I'm going to choose these 2, the 1436.36 and 35.131. I set up y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This gives me 94 or so divided by 21, which is 4.5. That's why B is the best answer. It's the only one with the correct slope. So for number 18, we're looking at designing a stairway using a formula, which they give here. Some building codes require that for indoor stairways, the tread depth must be at least 9 inches and the riser height must be at least 5 inches. According to the riser tread formula, which of the following inequalities represents the set of all possible values for the riser height that meets this code requirement? So pulled out from my paragraph here, the tread depth, which is we use D to represent, is greater than or equal to 9. And the riser height, we'll use H, is greater than or equal to 5. I got the variables from over here. If we look at our answer choices, they're all concerned with H specifically. So which one of these has the height greater than or equal to 5? Well, we see that for choice A, there are values included less than 5. Choices B and D are both incorrect for the same reason. If we go back to our 2H plus D is equal to 25 equation, and we solve this for D by subtracting 2H from both sides, and we know that D has to be greater than or equal to 9. Therefore, we can plug in this part and say that it has to be greater than or equal to 9. We subtract 25 from both sides, we have negative 2H is greater than or equal to a negative 16. When we divide both sides by a negative 2, we have H is less than or equal to 8. This means that 8 is the largest height possible for the riser treads. Both D and B include heights larger than 8. That leaves C as our correct answer. 19, same scenario. An architect wants to use the riser tread formula to design a stairway with a total rise of 9 feet, a riser height between 7 and 8 inches, and an odd number of steps. With the architect's constraints, which of the following must be the tread depth in inches of the stairway? So we begin with 9 times 12, because we have 9 feet, and there are 12 inches per. So our total rise is 108 inches. And we can represent this as n times h, where n means the number of steps, and h is the riser height per step. We know that our riser height has to be between 7 and 8, and we know that n has to be an odd number. We can set up our compound inequality like this. On the left here, this represents the total height of 108 divided by 8-inch risers, or 8 inches per step. On the right here, the total height, 108, divided by 7 inches per step. And then the actual height of our design staircase, somewhere between the two. We can also replace this middle value, 108 divided by h, with our variable n, because that would tell us the number of steps if we take the total height divided by the riser height. So if I do my division, 108 divided by 8 and 108 divided by 7, I see that n could either be 14 or 15, and only one of those is odd. That's why our best answer choice here is D. 25. Some values of the linear function f are shown in the table above. What is the value of f of 3? Since this is a linear function, we can choose any two coordinates and use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And we can identify here that our slope is 3. So let's use this first coordinate, 0, negative 2. Let's use our slope of 3 and plug them into y equals mx plus b. Negative 2 from the coordinate is equal to 3, which is our slope, times 0, which is our x-coordinate, plus b. 3 times 0 is 0. This tells us that b is equal to negative 2. Thus we can write our equation as y is equal to 3x minus 2. They want to know the value of f of 3. So that means we plug in 3 for x. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 2 is 7. B. We could have, once we found the slope was 3, looked and said, well, f of 2 was 4, so f of 3 is going to be 4 plus our slope, or 4 plus 3, which is 7. 28. Two different points on a number line are both 3 units from the point with coordinate negative 4. The solution to which of the following equations gives the coordinates of both points? So just from the definition of absolute value and from how you transform and translate equations, we could know that 3 goes here on the right, and to get to negative 4, inside of the bracket, you take the opposite, plus 4, and you could jump right to the answer A. However, sometimes if you don't remember all those things, a guess and check method is appropriate. And if we are starting at the coordinate negative 4, 3 away, or 3 to the left, is negative 7, or 3 to the right is negative 1. If we plug in negative 7 and negative 1 to each of these equations, which one is true for both coordinates? Only the first one, only A. 32. 2 times the quantity 5x minus 20 minus the quantity 15 plus 8x is equal to 7. What value of x satisfies the equation above? So the first thing we're going to do is distribute this 2, and we end up with 10x minus 40. Then we're going to distribute this negative, and we get minus 15 and minus 8x. I suspect that's where many people screw up. They don't write a minus 8x. From here we combine like terms. 10x minus 8x is 2x. Minus 40 minus 15 is a minus 55. We're going to add 55 to both sides. This gives us 2x is equal to 62. When we divide by 2, x is equal to 31. 35. The line with the equation 4/5 x plus 1/3 y is equal to 1 is graphed in the xy plane. What is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept of the line? By definition, the x-intercept is going to have some value of x and then a 0 for y. So what we can do is we can plug in this 0 for y, and we get 4/5 x plus 1/3 times 0, which is just 0, is equal to 1. To solve this, we're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So 5/4 on the left, 5 over 5 and 4 over 4 cancel out, and times 5/4 on the right. Well, 1 times anything is itself, so that's our answer, 5/4.